If I were camping right now in this weather, I would be so happy to be coming in here right now to this. Okay, right behind me, this enormous tent you see is the COODY KOALA hub tent connected to the COODY KOALA 7. It is 30 degrees out here right now. And today I'm going to be doing a test that a lot of people have been asking me about. And the question is, will this one stove in here, the Camanus M wood burning stove from RBM Outdoors, will that one stove heat this entire tent? Now this is 12 by 12 right here, the hub. This tent is 12 by 16. So you've got a total of 12 feet by 28 feet here to fill. This thing's so big I had to step up into the bushes to show you. Now I've tested that stove in just the hub. I've tested that stove in just the KOALA 7, but I've never tested that stove with these two tents connected together as you see them behind me. Now usually I would recommend putting in your plastic clear windows everywhere you possibly can, as well as the front door here and the rain fly on anything you can, just to help hold in that heat. You can see I do not have the rain fly on this tent or this one, and the reason for that is because I have not yet put the stove jack in those rain flies. I have the stove set up right now in the COODY hub. I have this stove jack open over here just in case I need to move it in here, because I was kind of thinking maybe if I had it centralized throughout, it would help to warm it better. But I want to see how it does in here first. I want to see if it will heat up this part of the tent and then push that heat throughout the rest of it. Also notice that I do not have that plastic on the front here. If you've seen me talk about this tent before, you know that these plastic windows are permanently sewn in. There are 4 of those around the top of this tent, and these 2 are sewn in as well on the back of the KOALA 7. This is just a fabric and mesh window back here. We've got 2 big windows on each side of the KOALA 7. At the moment, I do not have the plastic in there either, so these are just fabric and mesh. And I can show you that inside here, just the fabric and mesh. These plastic windows on the roof do have a fabric covering, but right now these tents are both just bare bones. And as you can see, the hub actually has 4 doors. This one is open between these 2 tents, and all 3 of the other doors are just the fabric and mesh. We're going to close that one in just a minute. In addition to that, between the 2 tents, you can see here that what connects these is just a thin fabric. So we're counting on that to hold in the heat as well. This is an enormous area to heat with just one stove, so I'm not going to be surprised if it doesn't work. However, I do completely expect it to work because this thing is a monster. I had the thermostat in my pocket, so it's gone up a little bit, but I'm going to bring it back here and set it on that table. You can see the stove is way up in the front of the tent here. We're going to pull these strings, let these down, zip that up, and that connects at the bottom with Velcro here. We're going to close the mesh on here as well. That zips across the bottom and down from the top. And we've got everything closed up in here. Oh, except our stove jack right here. That's a big hole. I'm going to say we more than likely will not need to move that stove. So I just went ahead and closed that and stuck a little Amazon envelope in there to kind of block it a little bit better. Other than that, everything else is closed up. Let's go ahead and get this stove going. Now, I had this stove going a few hours ago because I did the test in just this part of the tent, just the COODY hub. So we may have, yeah, you can see there's like a tiny, tiny little bit of embers in there right now. But I have had this thing wide open. I had that door wide open, this one over here. I had both of these tents apart after that, so this end was wide open. So it is just as cold inside this tent right now as it is outside. Now, I don't usually use these in these wood-burning stoves, but since we have a little bit of ember and I don't have any kindling, I'm going to go ahead and toss this in there right on top of the embers and let it light. All right, so that is catching good. This is the smallest piece I have. I'm going to go ahead and put it in here. Get that one going. How about this one in? That looks pretty chewed up there. That might catch pretty quick. That's a big, heavy one, too. Ugh. Okay, we got that in there at an angle, so that'll catch all those flames from the bottom there. Yeah, that's catching pretty good there. I've probably said this before, but I like to leave the door open when I'm first lighting these fires, just until it really gets burning good enough, because that allows a lot of air to come through there. And it is cold out here right now, too. Look at this. I'm I'm such a dork. So I'm sitting in this chair clear over in this corner right here, straight back from the stove, and clear on the other end, way up there, is our thermostat. And if I use my super zoom, 36 degrees that says right now. Now I'll also point out that I am not using the silicone boot. If I were using the silicone boot, that would also seal that air that's coming in around there. You can see I have the holes punched, so I have used that boot before. But that's just another way that you can keep cold out of your tent when you're trying to warm it up. I have a video up showing how to install that, as well as a stove jack, if you guys want to check those out. So I hiked up this log with the shovel there to let some more oxygen through and let that burn that piece of wood on the bottom there. Yeah, there we go. Now that I got that going a little bit better, I'm going to go ahead and put, I think, this piece on now. Let's put it bark down. You just want to make sure that it has air between all of those pieces of logs so that the fire can get through and so the oxygen can get through. Yeah, that'll catch pretty quick there. I do have more wood if I need it, and if I were actually out camping, I'd just take my hatchet and cut up some kindling with that piece right there. Alright, we got that burning pretty decent so far. I wouldn't say it's starting to get warm in here yet. And if we come down here, we can see where this is still reading 36. Actually, I think I will slide this over because that's just reading all the cold air that's coming off that wall as well. So there you go. Now it's in more of the middle back there. And I do have my accessories bag with me. So if we need to put the rainfly on to contain some heat in this area, we'll go ahead and do that. But not until we need to. Because I know how powerful this stove is. It gets really hot just in this tent alone and in this tent as well. So I already know that it can effectively heat the 12 by 12 and the 12 by 16 individually. So it's been probably 20-25 minutes that it's taken us to really get this fire cooking here. I can feel heat coming off of it there, but I would still not say yet that it's starting to warm up in here. I mean, this really is a giant space that's trying to heat, so it's going to take a little while. Yeah, that's cooking pretty good now. I can really feel the heat starting to come off of there. I'm going to go ahead and close the door here, but I'm going to leave the damper open all the way. I do have more wood if I need it, but I'm going to try to accomplish this with just what we have here, what's in the stove and that one last piece right there. And I can feel the heat starting to collect in here. So as we move back here, you can see that even though it still is cold back here, we've gone up to 37. That is only 1 degree of difference, but it does say that the heat is traveling back through there. Up here, it is feeling pretty good, though. I just don't want to bring our thermostat up here and taint it by measuring the heat up here and then taking it back down there, because we know it's going to be warm up here in the front. So what I completely expect to happen here, and we'll see in the end if this did happen, I expect this stove to get it nice and hot up in this area. I do expect the heat to travel down through the rest of the tent down there. And just as we have it with no plastic windows, no rainfly, I do expect that it's going to get decently warm back here. We're up to 38 now, so it's starting to go up some more. And this is based also on this being completely wide open from one end to the other. There are removable partitions in these tents, like this one right up here, and if you closed that, that would immediately shut off the heat flow. So if you were camping with other people and you did want that privacy of being able to close those, you would definitely have to have separate stoves. Okay, so I stepped outside here because I wanted to see how cold it felt out here as compared to inside the tent, and I can tell you that, yeah, there definitely is already a difference. It's starting to get dark out here. I think I've got about 45 minutes before it's dark. But if you look closely there, you can see the smoke coming out the stovepipe. This is an enormous tent, man. I love this thing. All right, let's go ahead back in here. Wow. It is definitely warmer in here right now. If I were camping right now in this weather, I would be so happy to be coming in here right now to this. The fire is still roaring. We were only out there for probably 8 minutes. It is nice and toasty in this area here. Of course, it's going to be warmer up here where the heat is rising. Let's go ahead back through here. And as I step into here, I can feel that it definitely is cooler in here, but we are up to 46 right there, and it just changed to 47. So the heat is definitely traveling throughout the tent. If we had the plastic windows and the rain fly on here right now, it would be a lot warmer already too. Wow, it is really warm up in this area here. Obviously, because this is where we have the stove, but that's what we want. We want that heat to collect in here, and as it collects in here, it's going to move back down through that part of the tent. Of course, we are losing some heat through the roof of the tent. That's where that rain fly would definitely come into play. That would help to keep that heat in here. If we had that silicone boot right in there right now, that would seal that up. And if we had the plastic door on the front here, that would hold in a lot more heat as well. Honestly, just as is, I'm already very pleased with the results of this test. We're up to 48 back there now, and I would venture to say that it's probably at least 55 up in this area here. It's nice and warm. It's very comfortable. You can actually get a fan as well that sits right on top of the stove and helps to radiate that heat throughout the tent. So it's been about another 15 minutes, and it is very comfortable throughout the entire tent. It's very warm in the hub. As I step in here, it is still warm. It's a little cooler, but as we come back to the back, you can see that it is 53 in here now in this area. The walls and the air tubes in the hub are warm. I can just barely feel cold air radiating through here. Like, I can't even feel it unless I touch that. That's kind of cold right there. The farther back we get, the colder the fabric and the structure is, but it is warming up. The longer that fire burns, the warmer everything inside the tent will get, and that heat will radiate off of that stuff and continue to provide warmth back in this area here. Now, to me personally, 53 is very comfortable. You can feel some cool air moving around in here, but again, that's because we're just testing this bare bones. We don't have those plastic windows in. We don't have the rain fly on. If we had that stuff in, I guarantee it would be at least 60 back here. And now I'm going to go ahead and take this and bring it up into the front here. We'll see how warm it is up here. And that's also without putting in that last piece of wood. We are still burning only what you guys watched me put in that stove. See, yeah, it's only been a minute standing up here, and it's already at 60, and it's still climbing. So I'd have to say this has been a successful test. The question, can one Caminus M wood-burning stove from RBM Outdoors heat this entire area, the 12 by 12 COODY KOALA hub tent and the 12 by 16 COODY KOALA 7 tent? And just based on this one test, the answer is definitely yes. Now, having said that, I would say that if you were planning on sleeping in here and keeping it warm all night, the temperature is probably going to drop through the night. And when you go to sleep, you don't need all the extra room here. So what I would recommend is either put your bed up there in the very warm area, or in the middle here, have the other partition up here that you could close, because that would allow this area back here to not be taking up your heat. And through the night, while that big area back there is not being used, it's closed off, and you would only be needing to heat the middle area here and this area up front. In addition to that, if you wanted to, you could always put your stove in the middle there. This is just one of the options here, and seeing that it works, like I said, this has definitely been a successful test, but you do have this stove jack back here, so you could have the stove in the middle of the tent, and it would effectively heat the entire thing. All right, that's it. Successful test. The answer is yes, it works. I gotta get this fire out and get these tents down. It is about to get dark. Make sure you subscribe and check out my other videos, my unboxings and reviews of other tents that I've got from RBM, so you can make the right choice of what is the right tent for you.